Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the homestead. We're back in the kitchen, but we're not cooking. We're talking all things planning and seeds and starting the season and how we do things here and what's going on in my head and all that kind of stuff. Just to my right here is Nora. She's colouring some pepper cookies. She'll say a quick hello. And she'll do that while we talk about seeds and everything else. So yeah, I really want to kind of explain really how I think about growing stuff, planning, and we don't do a lot of planning here. We need to do some sort of planning just to keep a schedule of what needs to be planted and when, otherwise I'll just lose track. We've got the seed box out. It is time, as I like to say, it's time for seeds. To be fair, I've already got some stuff sown already. Onions were done weeks ago because onions take a long growing season. So what have we got? So I'm going to start thinking about now our first succession for the greenhouse. So it's kind of pre-tomatoes. Even though the weather outside here is pretty dire, it's still, well, today I think is -5. It's due to go down to -10 or 12 in the week. February can be a pretty harsh month here in Latvia. But we can still get stuff going indoors and get it ready, put it under the grow lights and get it out into the greenhouse sometime later in March, maybe something like that. So what do I think when I think planting? So this is kind of how I think about successions. And we've got several growing areas, but predominantly the main growing areas are the greenhouses and the main garden. And we have kind of tomatoes here, sorry, the greenhouse here has only really been used for tomatoes and peppers and summer stuff until we come along. And what I do now is I think about a pre-tomato sowing. So, we've got the months here in stripes: January, February, March, April, May, June, etc. The black line is the longest day of the year. And then we've got the tomatoes, and then we've got a post kind of tomato sowing. The greenhouse gives us the heat. Biggest problem here with growing is it is heat. We can get around the heat thing. It's light. Once we go beyond, I think, middle of October, we go below 8 hours of sunlight, and we went beyond 8 hours of sunlight, or more than 8 hours, about 4 or 5 days ago. So I want to get going this, and then I'm not going to. Obviously, tomatoes will get going soon, but they'll be indoors for a few months before the last frost date, which is kind of the end of May here, beginning of June. So, it's a pretty late frost date. We're 58 degrees north. If you don't know already, we are just below the border of Estonia. We're not the Arctic Circle by any means, but it's still pretty cold for a long time. And then we'll. With the garden, I don't worry. You can see what happens with the garden is a bit more compressed. We don't leave because we can't really get stuff out. This end we're looking at peas and broad beans kind of stuff, and then we don't really get going until this middle succession, which is the mainstay. The garden is a lot more complicated than just this, but essentially you've got early stuff, middle stuff, and late stuff that we can leave in there. It also depends on things like whether they get attacked by the deer with our fence, although the fence problem will solve itself this year. So what kind of things here in Latvia are we going to start planting for that first greenhouse succession? So we can do things like, the real hardy stuff like kales, that kind of stuff. I really like this Russian red kale, red Russian kale. What's great about this is it can be used, when it's smaller, the leaves are delicate and they can be used just like a salad leaf, and then it grows and becomes more like a kale leaf. So it's very, kitchen friendly, particularly when you've got that hunger gap, first couple of months of the year, or 2 or 3 months, when you're waiting for those summer season crops to become ready. You can get this going, very cold hardy. It will give you those nice first leaves, and then it'll grow into a nice kale, and you can steam and do all the stuff that you do with kale. Red Russian Kale seeds I've not seen available here in Latvia. I bought them in the UK and now I've been seed saving, so I've got loads myself. This is my last full packet. Now if you're in Latvia and you want some, then perhaps give me a shout directly and I'll see if I can get some out to you. What else will we doing? Pak Choi were really successful first succession last year. I have got green Pak Choi and I've got some red Pak Choi as well. Sorry, they're here, red Pak Choi. I've got, they worked really well last year actually, so we'll get going with those. Spinach, of course, fantastic, loves the cold. And that will, if it gets too hot, that will bolt. So really, it's a real cold weather crop and it's no problem there at all. We've got any sort of lettuce, you can plant any sort of lettuces, so we'll get going with some Tom Thumb lettuces, the small ones, and some Cos lettuces, the bigger tall ones. They go well. Any sort of lettuce really, you can get going early on. And that's no problem at all. What else? Oh, radish. Great winter crop. Before the flea beetles come along, get that going straight away. Very quick as well, 30 days you can have a crop, 30, 35 days. It goes really quick. Maybe not as quick in those early days when it's not quite as warm, but nevertheless, that's what happens. Shard as well, mangolds, get those going. They're more frost. They tend to be more frost hardy when they're smaller, strangely enough. So that's good. Good variety of crops there. You can get some early carrots seeds in, and they'll germinate when they're ready. Those kind of things. Some other, perhaps if you've got some very hardy cabbage seeds, I've got like Tundra. If you've heard of that variety, works really well. Here's a seed box. Quick discussion about seeds. I like to organise in alphabetical order, and I originally organised it in Latvian alphabetical order, which is good for me, learning all the words, and I became very proficient with Latvian vegetables and flowers very quickly. But now I've moved back to English order because it's just a bit simpler, and it really now is me who uses these seeds, or Gita and I. And not Gita's mum. Before we had to share it. I keep the only reason I have these seeds in this after 8 box is these are all my Premier Seed Direct seeds, and they come in these smaller silver packs. So I kept those separate just so I know where they were. They are my preferred seed supply before, but since Brexit transition, we can no longer buy seeds from the UK and have them posted out to the EU. If you're still in the UK, then Premier Seeds Direct are a fantastic seed supplier. I'll put a link below. Not sponsored by them at all in any way, just absolutely brilliant. They posted faithfully to Latvia and it always arrived. Really good seeds. So I will start going through this seed box and oiking out the seeds for thinking about the next session, because we've got the grow lights in there, and I'll show you in there what that looks like if you've not seen the video already. I've got onions on the go already, and that really helps with that light in the early part of the season, so that we can get those early crops ready and strong, and then get them out into the greenhouse and planted as transplants to give them the best chance sort of surviving and get going. And we had some fantastic early crops last year with that. Really enjoyed having those early greens early in the year. So that's what I'm thinking generally. There is another video which I'll link to, which explains the planning system for the garden in greater detail. I love to use Excel. I have all my seeds and planting dates for last year here on a spreadsheet, and I can check when I planted stuff, when I transplanted it out, when we harvested it, and where it went, and all that kind of stuff, and any other notes. So that I think is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want anything explained in greater detail, then by all means leave a comment below and I will make that video for you, or answer a question if you've got a quick question. No problem at all. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If there's nothing else, I think that's it. I will see you in the next video, and I wish you bye-bye for now.